Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda.
I'm opening.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, thank you for joining. So we will resume with our discussion from Srimad Bhagavatam 4th Canto, Chapter 1, verse 48. So just to set the context, the chapter is essentially a description of the descendants of Swayambhavu Manu and the conversation between Maitreya and Vidur. In this conversation, so far, the lineage of Akuti and Devahuti has been described, beginning from the chapter 40, from the verse 48 till the end. We will see a description of the lineage of Prasuti. So, verse 48. Tasyam sahasraja duhitra shodashma lalochanaha trayodashada dharmaya tathekam agnaye vibhu. Daksha begot 16 very beautiful daughters with lotus-like eyes in his wife Prasuti. Of these 16 daughters, 13 were given in marriage to Dharma, and one daughter was given to Agni. So as I mentioned, from here till the end of the chapter is a description of the genealogical lineage of Prasuti. So 13 daughters are married to Prajapati, Dharma. Then one daughter, and the name of the daughter is Swaha. She is married to Agni. And the 15th daughter is Swada. She will be married to the Pitras. And the youngest daughter is Sati. And she is married to Lord Shiva. Okay, now next we have 4 verses together, 49 to 52. Pitrabhya ekam yuktebhyo bhavayekam bhavachede Shraddha maitri daya shanti stushti pushti kriyanati buddhir medati tiksharir murtir dharmasya patnya Shraddha sutta shubham maitri prasadam abhayam daya shanti sukham mudam tushti smaya pushti rasvayata yogam kiryunatir dharpam artham buddhira suyata medaspratam titakshatu kshemam hri prasayam sutam murtir sarvagunotpatir narnarayana varishi. One of the remaining 2 daughters was given in charity to Pitraloka, where she resides very amicably. And the other daughter was given to Lord Shiva, who is the deliverer of sinful persons from material entanglement. The names of the 13 daughters of Daksha, who were given to Dharma, are Shraddha, Maitri, Daya, Shanti, Tushti, Pushti, Kriya, Unnati, Buddhi, Meda, Titiksha, Ri, and Murti. These 13 daughters produced the following sons. Shraddha gave birth to Shubha. Maitri produced Prasad. Daya gave birth to Abhay. Shanti gave birth to Sukh. Tushti gave birth to Mudha. Pushti gave birth to Smaya. Kriya gave birth to Yoga. Unnati gave birth to Darpa. Buddhi gave birth to Artha. Meda gave birth to Smriti. Titiksha gave birth to Kshema. And Hiri gave birth to Prashraya. Murti, a reservoir of all respectable qualities, gave birth to Shri Narayan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So when we read this verse, it almost looks like it's a description of the qualities of one in the mode of goodness. Right? When we see qualities like Daya, Shanti, Tushti, Pushti, Kriya, Buddhi, Medha. And actually, that's what they are. These 13 daughters, 12 daughters are the presiding deities of the qualities in Satagun. The 13th daughter, Murti, is considered to be a form of Shuddha Sattva. And she is also the mother of Lord Narnarayan. So the verse also gives the names of the sons of these 13 daughters, and we can also understand that they give what does a particular quality result in. Now, it's not that these are symbolic or these are metaphors, but these are actual presiding deities. We'll see the same thing later on when the lineage of Adharma is being described. Then we see how lust gives birth to anger, and one might say, yeah, we know these qualities result in one another, so maybe this is a metaphor. No, it's just that they're presiding deities, and one is resulting in the appearance of the other. So Shraddha gives birth to so Shraddha, which is faith, gives birth to Shubh, which is auspiciousness. Maitri, which is friendship, gives birth to Prasad, which is serenity. And the connection is easy to establish, so I won't speak on it. While one is friendly towards everybody, then the person is automatically serene, because the person does not envy, the person has no sense of repulsion, so they're peaceful. So Maitri gives birth to serenity. Daya, which is mercy, gives birth to Abhay, which is fearlessness. Shanti, which is peace, gives birth to Sukha, which is happiness. Tushti, which is satisfaction, gives birth to Muda, which is delight. Pushti, which is nourishment, gives birth to Smaya, which is enthusiasm for Dharma. Kriya, which is endeavor or work, gives birth to Yoga. Unnati gave birth to Darpa, which is expertise in Yoga. Unnati is improvement, gave birth to Darpa, which is expertise in Yoga. Buddhi, which is intelligence, gives birth to Artha, which is value. Medha, which is mental vigor, gives birth to Smriti, which is memory. Titiksha, which is tolerance, gives birth to Kshema, which is safety. Ri, which is shyness, gives birth to Prashriya, which is gentle conduct. And the 13th daughter, Murti, is described as a reservoir of all respectable qualities. So she's considered to be in the mode of pure goodness. And she gave birth to Narnarayan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And we'll hear more about him in the next set of verses. Verse 53. Yaya janmanya do vishvam abhyandan sunivratam manam si kakubhavataha prasedu saritordya. On the occasion of the appearance of Narnarayan, the entire world was full of joy. Everyone's mind became tranquil, and thus in all directions, the air, the rivers, and the mountains become pleasant. So we see this happening when there is the appearance of the personality of Godhead, because he is auspicious for everything and everyone. So Narnarayan Rishi is briefly described here in a few verses, and more pastimes are described in the 12th canto, 8th chapter. And he also makes a brief appearance in the 3rd canto. Verse 54 and 55. Divyavadayanta turyani petukusum bristasya munayastushtuvastushta jagur gandharva kinnaraha nitryanti sma striyo devya asit paramamangalam deva pramadaya sarve upattastur abhishtavaha. In the heavenly planets, bands began to play, and they showered flowers from the sky. The pacified sages chanted Vedic prayers. The denizens of heavens, known as the Gandharvas and the Kinnaras, sang. The beautiful damsels of the heavenly planets danced. And in this way, at the time of the appearance of Narayan, all signs of good fortune were visible. Just at that time, great demigods like Brahma also offered their respectful prayers. So we see that each of the 3 daughters of Swayambhavu Manu have the personality of Godhead appearing as their descendant. So from Yagya and Akuti, from Akuti, Yagya, the personality of Godhead Yagya was born. From Devahuti, Kapila was born. And from the daughter of Prasuti, so this is Prasuti's grandson, Narayan was born. So each of the 3 daughters had the personality of Godhead appearing in their. 2 of them have them appearing directly as their son, and Prasuti as the grandson. Deva uchuhu yo maya yavirachitam nijayatmanidam kherup bhedam ivatat pratichakshanaya etena dharma sadane rishi murtanadya pradushchakara purushasya namaha parasmai. The demigods said, "Let us offer our respectful obeisances unto the transcendental personality of Godhead, who has created as his external energy this cosmic manifestation, which is situated in him as the air and clouds are situated in space, and who has now appeared in the form of Narayan Rishi in the house of Dharma." So, Deva Uchu, plural. So, this is the combined Devas. They are saying or praying, Namaha Parasmai, that please accept our respectful obeisances. Whom are they giving it to? Purushasya, the personality of Godhead, Etena Dharma Sadena, who has appeared in the house of Prajapati Dharma. And then they glorify his qualities. Mayaya Virachita. So Mayaya is by his own external energies. Virachita means that he creates. What does he create? Nijaya Atmani Idam. So he creates this cosmic manifestation, which is Atmani, by himself, but it is also situated within him. Then Pratichakshanaya, this cosmic manifestation that is manifested has unlimited varieties. Pratichakshanaya, Kherupa Bhedam Eva. The example is given, Kherupa Bhedam Eva. As the air and clouds are situated in space. So there are unlimited number of clouds, unlimited types of airs and space. Similarly, this universe is unlimited variety situated in it. So Prabhupada says that specifically Yo Mayaya Virachitam is stated. This states that the varieties are a manifestation of the energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Thus, because the energy is different from the Godhead, because the energy is non-different from the Godhead, the varieties are also factual. So Prabhupada is using this verse to once again show that the Mayavadi conception is false. So the Mayavadis say, and this we had studied in 3rd canto, chapter 33, or I think more like 32. The Mayavadis state that before the influence of Maya, the whole cosmic manifestation is undifferentiated. Because there is the influence of Maya, different senses come, different objects of the senses comes, different qualities of those objects of the senses come, and variety comes. All this is because of Maya. So variety is the result of Maya, and when you flip it around, then Brahman has no variety in it. So Prabhupada says that variety is factual. This verse indicates it. That because the material manifestation is created by the Lord, right? Nijaya Atmani Idam. That by his own energy, he has virachitam. He has created it. And because there is variety in the spiritual world, there is variety in the material world. But the illusion is not in the fact that there is variety, but in considering that variety is permanent. That is the illusion. So the variety between plant and human form, the variety between male and female, the variety between good and bad. So that is true, that is real, but it is temporary. Considering that variety to be permanent, that is an illusion. So Srila Prabhupada just uses this opportunity to re-emphasize that point. Verse 57. Soyam sthiti vyatikaro parasmaya shreshta satve nanahasura ganan anumeya tattvaha Dishyadadabra karunena vilokanena yashri niketam amalam shipatrarvindam. Let the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is considered by truly authorized Vedic literature and who has created peace and prosperity to destroy all calamities of the created world, be kind enough to bestow his glance upon the demigods. His merciful glance can supersede the beauty of the spotless lotus flower, which is the home of the goddess of fortune. So the prayers of the Devas, so they're just these two verses in which the Devas are giving prayers to Lord Narayan. So initially they glorified his energy of creating the universe. Now they're glorifying his mercy. So they are saying, Soyam sthiti vyatikara upasamya shrishta. So they are saying that you are sthiti, you are the creator, then upsamaya, you are the destroyer, and you are the vyatikara, you are the protector of the srishtam, of this srishti, this creation. And the merciful glance of the Lord, so they say, Drishyat adabra karunena vilokanena, exceeds the beauty of the lotus flower, which is the abode of Lord, of Mother Lakshmi. He is Anumeya Tattva, and he can only be understood by the Vedas. So his relationship with the material world is described, but the Lord's relationship with the material world is actually a sub-part of his mercy. It's not that he's creating more as a duty and just letting it go. It is essentially a manifestation of his mercy. Everything. They say that your sthiti, which is the creation, upsamaya, the destruction, the vyatikar, protection, all three they are saying is a result of the mercy. And in order to describe the sweetness of it, they compare it with the lotus flower, which is the abode of Mother Lakshmi. So Mother Lakshmi is the most attractive of women. And her abode is, she sits on a lotus flower, which is very, very beautiful. But the mercy of the Lord, it exceeds the beauty. So Srila Prabhupada says that it is very difficult to find the origin of the cosmic manifestation. Therefore, material scientists conclude that nature is the ultimate cause of all manifestation. But from Shastra or authentic literature like Bhagavad Gita and other Vedic scriptures, we understand that behind this wonderful cosmic manifestation is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And in order to maintain the regular procedures of the cosmic manifestation and to be visible to the eyes of the persons who are in the mode of goodness, the Lord appears. He is the cause of the creation and the dissolution of the cosmic manifestation. The demigods therefore prayed for his merciful glance upon them in order to be blessed. Okay, verse 58. Evam suraganestata bhagvanta abhishutatau labdhavalo ryayatur arichutau gandhamardanam. Maitreya said, O Vidur, thus the demigods worship with prayers the Supreme Personality of Godhead, appearing as the sage Narnarayan. The Lord glanced upon them with mercy and then departed to Gandhamardan hills. Verse 59. Tavimau vai bhagvato hareram savihagato bharavyaya cha bhuvaha krishnau yadu kurudvau. That Narnarayan Rishi, who is a partial expansion of Krishna, has now appeared in the dynasties of Yadu and Kuru in the form of Krishna and Arjun, respectively, to mitigate the burden of the world. So Tav Imavai, these two, and how are they described as Bhagavat Hare Amshava. So they are the Amshas of Bhagavat Hare, of the Lord, personality of Godhead. So these two is pointing to Nar and Narayan Rishi. So these two are portions of the Lord. Iha Agato. Now they have entered Krishna Yadu Kurudvaha. Now they have entered Krishna and Arjun. So Krishna is the best of the Yadus and Arjun is the best of the Kurus. And what is the reason for which they have entered? Bharavyaya cha bhuva, for relieving the earth of its burden. Vishwanath Chakravarti, when he comments on this verse, he says that sometimes people think that Krishna and Arjun are an expansion of Narayan Rishi. And they quote this verse, but then he looks at the grammar of the verse, and then he says clearly, Nar and Narayan are the subject, and Krishna and Arjun are the object. So the statement is that Nar and Narayan, who are the portions of the Lord at the end of Dwapar Yuga, have attained the form of Krishna and Arjun. Essentially, the Amshas have entered into the Amshis. So the portions have entered into the whole. And this is also, and this is Vishwanath Chakrabarti saying that this is explained by Sanatana Goswami in Laghu Bhagavatamrita 1.5.13. That Narayan, the expansion of Vishnu, entered Krishna and Arjun at the end of Dwapar Yuga. And actually, it is said that when Krishna appeared as Swayam Bhagavan, then all his incarnations were present within him. So it's not just Narayan, but because he is the original Amsha, Amsi, when he came, then all his incarnations entered. So it is said that when Krishna crossed over the Yamuna and went into Mathura, then it was actually Vasudev Krishna. So Vasudev Krishna, we know, is one of the Chaturvyuhas, one of the quadruple expansion of Krishna. It is Vasudev Krishna who separated from Krishna and then left, because Krishna does not leave Vrindavan. He stayed back in Vrindavan. So Prabhupada says that Narayan is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and Nar is a part of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So therefore, they are both called expansions of Vishnu. So the qualifier expansions of Vishnu is applied to both Nar and Narayan. Now, factually, there is a difference between the two. The Narayan is Vishnu Tattva and Nar is Jiva Tattva. Because Arjun is Jiva Tattva or Shakti Tattva, but definitely not Vishnu Tattva. And Narayan is Vishnu Tattva. But the phrase expansions of Arjun is applied to both of them, and Srila Prabhupada explains because the Jiva is also an expansion of the Lord. So the phrase makes sense. He says that the energy and the energetic together are the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Maitreya informed Vidur that Nar, the portion of Narayan, has entered into the family of Kurus, and then Narayan, the plenary expansion of Krishna, has come as Krishna. So from this we can understand that Krishna expands into Narayan and Arjun expands into Nara. So they are the original Amshis. So we see mentions of Nar Narayan Rishi, like I said, in the 3rd canto, where they are described as the originators of one of the disciplic successions of Bhagavatam, in which Maitreya actually himself receives the Bhagavatam. That comes from Nar Narayan Rishi. Then in the Mahabharata, actually, they appear in the pastime of Markandeya Rishi. So when Markandeya Rishi wanted to see the illusory energy of the Lord, then Nar Narayan Rishi, they were not very happy, but they still gave him that benediction. So that's when Markandeya Rishi sees 6. He sees 6 Chaturyugas, I think. I'm not sure if he sees 6 kalpas or, but he sees 6 cycles of creation and destruction. He sees that all in a moment. And this is the illusory energy of Lord. So that vision was granted by Nar Narayan Rishi. This is where they see Krishna lying on the Vatapatra, on the leaf of the banyan tree, sucking his toe. Then we also see Narayan Rishi being tempted by the Devas. That pastime is also described, that when Indra gets concerned with their austerities, he sends Kamadev with a bunch of apsaras, and they try to disturb the penances being performed by Narayan Rishi. Now, generally speaking, when this thing happens, then one of the two things happen. So when Indra sends his apsaras to disturb sages, one of the two things happen. The sages either get angry and curse the apsara, or they succumb to the charms of the apsara and they enjoy it. In case of Narayan Rishi, we see that neither of the two happened. They neither got angry nor did they get lusty. They just became very compassionate. So they could see how Indra, so from their perspective, Indra is like a little boy. And they could see how Indra was so scared that his toy might be taken away from him, the being the king of the heavenly planets. So they just became very compassionate, and they smiled and they said, nothing to worry. And they said, you came to tempt us with attractive woman. So let me also gift you with an attractive woman. And so they created Urvashi. And so Urva means from the one who appears from the thigh, Urvashi. So she created Urvashi, whose beauty far exceeds that of the Apsaras, and gave as a gift to Indra. And then again in the third canto, we see that when Krishna is doing his final pastimes, he's giving his final instructions to Uddhav. And then he said, now you go and take shelter of Narayan Rishi, who are performing austerities in Badrika Ashram. So the understanding is that they're still situated in Badrika Ashram, performing austerities for the welfare of the universe at large. Okay, verse 16. Swabhimaninaschagner atmajam strena jijanat pavakam pavamanam cha suchim cha huto bhojanam. The predominating deity of fire begot in his wife Swaha 3 children named Pavak, Pavaman, and Suchi, who exist by eating the oblations offered to the fire of sacrifice. So Swaha is the 14th daughter. So generally when we are sitting in yagyas, this was actually explained to me recently, that when we are sitting in yagyas and offering oblations, so we say Swaha. So Swaha is essentially saying, offering the oblations through the wife, because Agni is accompanied with his wife Swaha. So just like we say Lakshmi Narayan, or we say Gauri Shankar. So we approach the husband through the wife, Radha Krishna, because more merciful, more accessible. So when we are offering oblations, we also say Swaha. So we are saying to the wife, please take it for Agni. So Prabhupada says that after describing the descendants of the 13 wives of Dharma, who were all daughters of Daksha, Maitreya now describes the 14th daughter of Daksha, Swaha, and her 3 sons. Oblations offered in the sacrificial fire are meant for the demigods, and on behalf of the demigods, the 3 sons of Agni and Swaha, namely Pavak, Pavaman, and Suchi, accept oblations. Next verse, 61. Tebhyognya sambhavan chatra vimshakcha panchacha ta eva kano panascha shaktam pitrapitamaha. From those 3 sons, another 45 descendants were generated, who are also fire gods. The total number of fire gods is therefore 49, including the fathers and the grandfathers. So the calculation is that there are 45 descendants from the 3 fathers, Pavak, Pavaman, and Suchi, and they are the sons of Agni. So 1 plus 3 plus 45, that's how we have 49 different fire gods. Verse 62. Vaitaniki karmani namavi brahmavadipihi agneya ishtayo yagye nirupyante gneyastute. These 49 fire gods are the beneficiaries of the oblations offered in the Vedic sacrificial fire by impersonalist Brahmanas. So Prabhupada says that the impersonalists who perform Vedic fruitive sacrifices are attracted to the various fire gods and offer oblations in their name. The 49 fire gods are described herewith. So Vishwanath Chakravarti says that it's not that all the 49 devas are doing the same thing. Even though they're collectively called fire gods, and one might think that a fire is a fire, what's the difference? He says that actually they are invoked by different mantras in the performance of Vaitanike. So these are sacrifices, mostly in the category of Karmakanda. So the Brahmins who are experts, based on the nature of the yajna, they will invoke different kinds of fires and they chant different kind of oblations too, and they offer different oblations chanting different mantras. So it is a nirupyante. Different kind of offerings are given to Vaitanike too in this Vedic sacrifices. So essentially, they are manifesting to accept the oblations and yagyathat karmano nayatra lokoyam karmandana, that essentially to support this process of yajna for different karmakand benefits. Verse 63. Agnishvat barishadaha saumya pitara ayapaha sangnayo nagnayastesham patni dakshayani swadha. The Agnishvatas, the Barisadas, the Saumyas, and the Ajyapayas are the Pitras. They are either Sagnik or Niragnik. The wife of all these Pittas is Swadha, who is the daughter of King Daksha. So this is the 15th daughter of Daksha, and she is married to the Pitras. So 4 Pitras are described here. The Saumyas are the one who drink the Soma juice. Then they are classified as Saagniya and Anagniya. So the ones who are Saagniya are the ones who receive the oblations in fire sacrifice, and the Anagniya are the ones who do not receive the oblations. So there is a more detailed description of the Pitras that is found in Harivamsha Purana. It's in the first volume, chapter 17 to 18. And this is essentially revealed in a conversation between Bhishma Dev and Markandeya Rishi. So Bhishma Dev asks the question about Pitras. I'm always confused about the identity of the Pitras. Who are they? And Markandeya Rishi says, I was also confused. So I asked this question to Sanat Kumar, one of the 4 Kumars, and he explained it to me as follows. So in ancient times, now this conversation happened in ancient times, so we can imagine this is even more ancient times. So in ancient times, Brahma, he created the Prajapatis. And he created them for serving and for worshipping, to worship him and for serving, following on his instructions. But then the Prajapatis, they became overcome with a desire to enjoy sense gratification. So they neglected Brahma and they made themselves the object of worship. So Brahma got upset at them and cursed them. And because of the curse, they were overcome with illusion and they became bewildered. So after being cursed in this way, the Prajapatis, they begged Lord Brahma for forgiveness. So Brahma said that you've done something wrong, so you have to atone for it. They said, okay, how do we atone for it? So Brahma said, you request your children to enlighten you about the path, and then you will attain wisdom. So based on the instruction of Brahma, the Prajapatis, they went to their sons and they asked them for instructions on how to atone. So the sons considered it for a long time, and then they gave this instruction that great personalities who are expert in Gyan and Vigyan, they have concluded that atonement is practiced by the voice, mind, activities, and eyes. So understanding the true nature of atonement, you will regain your intelligence. And they concluded the instructions by speaking to their father and saying, now, my dear sons, you may return home. So the Prajapatis now, they felt very insulted because their own sons were addressing them as, now, my dear sons, you may return home. So they went back to Brahma and complained about it, that our sons are calling us their sons. So Brahma said that they were right, because from a material perspective, you are their father. But because they have given you knowledge, they should be considered to be your father. So once the Prajapatis heard this, their doubts were removed and they were happy. So they went back to their sons and they said that you are actually our forefathers because you have bestowed knowledge upon us. And because you have addressed us as your sons, you will be known as Pitras. And then they gave this benediction to them that the result of activities performed without first worshipping the Pitras is like offering oblations to the demons, the Rakshasas, and the serpents, which means that they will have an opposite effect. Then they gave further benediction. He said, you are all divine forefathers. You are all Pitras. When you will be satisfied by the performance of a Shraddha ceremony, the earthly forefathers will also be satisfied. And this will enhance the devotion for the worshipable deity Soma, who will satisfy the moving and non-moving living beings. So the worshipable deity of Soma is the Pitras. So the moon god worships the Pitra. And when those who satisfy the Pitras, they will satisfy Soma also, because they are satisfying the deity of Soma. And Soma moon god will reciprocate by offering them happiness and good children. And then they conclude by saying, the Prajapatis, that a person who offers 3 morsels of food to his departed father grandfather, and great-grandfather, while chanting the name and lineage, will become blessed with great prosperity. So further, Sanat Kumar, he explains, he talks about the identity of the Pitras. So there are 7 Pitras. Of the 7 Pitras, 4 are visible in the sense that they have a gross body, and 3 are invisible in the sense that they have a subtle body. So I'll send this table over to Prem Kishore Prabhu, so you don't have to make any notes. But it's very interesting to get an insight into the identity of the Pitras. So the 4 Pitras who are visible or who have gross bodies are actually worshipped by the 4 Varnas. The Pitra by the name of Shukal is the son of Vashisht and is worshipped by, so they're all sons of Prajapatis. So they're different Prajapati sons. So Sukal is the son of Vashisht and he's worshipped by the Brahmanas. So he resides in Devaloka. Now each of these Pitra also has a Manasputri, or a daughter that is born from their mind, and who has an important position. So Shukla has a Manasputra by the name of Gau or Ekashringa, and she married Sukadev. So this is a different Sukadev. This is the Sukadev in the dynasty of Shandilya dynasty. The second Pitra is Angiras. He is the son of Angira Rishi. He is worshipped by the Kshatriyas, and he lives on the planet that is illuminated by Suryadev. His Manasputri's name is Yashoda, and she is the mother of King Dilipa, whose descendant is Bhagirath. The third is Shushvada. Shushvada is the son of Pulaha. He is worshipped by the Vaishyas. He resides in Swarga, and his Manasputri is Viraj, and she is the wife of Nahusha and the mother of King Yayati. The fourth Pitra is Somap, and he is the son of Swadha. So Swadha is the one that we were speaking about in this verse. He is worshipped by the Shudras. He resides in Manasloka, and his daughter's name is Narmada, and she is the presiding deity of the river Narmada. So these are the 4 Pitras who have gross bodies, who are worshipped by humans, the Brahmins, Vaishyas, Kshatriyas, and Shudras. The other 3 Pitras are worshipped by the Devas. So the 5th Pitra is Vairaj. He resides in Brahmaloka, and his daughter is Mena. So Mena is famous because she married Himavan, the personality of Himalaya, and then she had 3 daughters, Ekapatra, Ekapatal, and Aparna. And the 3 daughters performed severe austerities. So Aparna gave up eating, drinking completely. Arna means food, Aparna means she gave up completely. And Ekapatra simply ate 1 leaf, and Ekapatal simply ate 1 flower. And between all the 3 daughters were famous, but the eldest daughter Aparna, because of her severe austerities, her mother actually became very concerned. So she came to her and she said that you please stop. So she said, "Oo ma." So "oo" means you and "ma" means don't do this. So she became famous as Uma. And because she is the daughter of Parvat, she is also famous as Parvati. And then she later on marries Lord Shiva. So she is the incarnation of Shakti. Well, not an incarnation, but she is Sati who has appeared again. The sixth Pitra is Agnishvatas. He is the son of Marichi. He is worshipped by the Devas. He lives in a planet called Somapad. And his daughter, not as famous but relevant in Mahabharata, is Achoda. So when Achoda was born, then she was not able to see her father. So at that point, the originator of the Kuru dynasty, the king by the name of Vasu, was traveling in the air with an Apsara named Adrika. So seeing them, she thought that these are my parents. So when she approached them, then her actual parent, Anishwata, he became angry, and then he cursed her to fall. And when she asked for forgiveness, he said, don't worry, it'll be a temporary fall and it will be rectified. So Achoda is the one who takes birth as Satyavati. And Satyavati, as we know, becomes the mother of Srila Vyasadeva. And because she considered Vasu as her father, then there's an elaborate pastime that once Vasu was alone missing his wife, and in separation he passed semen, so he asked a hawk to take that semen to his wife, but the hawk was attacked by another hawk and the semen fell on a lake, and in the lake was a fish, and that fish was actually Adrika. So the Apsara with which Vasu was traveling had been cursed by a Brahman, because the Brahman was taking bath, and Adrika, just to have fun, she went into the water and started pulling his legs. So he cursed her to be a fish. And so the fish actually swallowed the semen. And because of that, Achoda was born. So we know then the fisherman caught it, cut open the belly, the child was born, that was Satyavati. And Satyavati was impregnated by Parashar Muni, and Vyasadeva was born. And the last is Varishadas. He is the son of Pulastya. And he is worshipped by the Yakshas and the Rakshasas, the Gandharvas, the snakes, worshipped by Garuda. He lives in Babiraj, which is the Surya planet, and his Manasputri is Pivari. And Pivari is the wife of Sukadeva Goswami, who is the speaker of the Bhagavatam. This pastime actually comes later on, that Sukadeva Goswami is considered to be a Naishtik Brahmachari, but there is also a talk of the descendants of Sukadeva Goswami. Prabhupada explains that Sukadeva Goswami was, when he was being harassed by his parents to marry, he created a clone of himself, who was also Sukadeva Goswami. He went off to perform austerities. The clone Sukadeva Goswami entered into Grahastha life, and he is the one who married Pivari. So this is a description of the seven Pitras. Okay, so I have a few more verses. I'll finish them. That will finish the chapter, and then we'll pause for any discussion. Verse 64. Tebhyo dadar kanyadve va vayunam dharinim swadaha ubete brahma vadinyau jnana vijnana parage. Swadha, who was offered to Pitas, begot two daughters named Vayuna and Dharani, both of whom were impersonalists and were expert in transcendental and Vedic knowledge. So In the Harivamsha Puran, slightly different lineages is described. Does not mean that one is correct or other is wrong, but there the lineages through the Manasputris, that this is the child, the daughters that they produce just by their mind. And this is the lineage that is appearing from their wife. So the Pitras married Swadha, and from Swadha, two sons were born, and two daughters were born, Vayuna and Dharini, and they married. Well, next verse will show whom they marry. No, this verse says, right? No, it doesn't say who they were married. It just says they were impersonalists who were expert in transcendental and Vedic knowledge. Okay. Verse 65. Bhavishya-patni tushati bhavam devam anuvrata atmana sadarsham putram na lebe guna shilata. The 16th daughter, whose name was Sati, was the wife of Lord Shiva. She could not produce a child, although she always faithfully engaged in the service of her husband. Verse 66. Pitre apratirupe sve bhavayana gase rusha apradhu vatmanatmana ajahat yoga samyuta. The reason is that Sati's father Daksha used to rebuke Lord Shiva in spite of Lord Shiva's faultlessness. Consequently, before attaining a mature age, Sati gave up her body by the dint of yogic mystic power. So this verse will actually result in Vidur asking more about what happened. And the next 6 chapters will be a description of the pastime of the Yagya of Prajapati Daksha, and the insulting of Lord Shiva, and then Sati giving up her body. So Prabhupada in the purport says that Lord Shiva, being the head of all mystic yogis, never even constructed a house for his residence. Sati was the daughter of a great king Daksha, and because his youngest daughter Sati selected as her husband Lord Shiva, King Daksha was not very much satisfied with her. Therefore, whenever she met her father, he unnecessarily criticized her husband, although Lord Shiva was faultless. Because of this, before attaining a mature age, Sati gave up the body given by her father, Daksha, and therefore she could not produce a child. And as I mentioned, this pastime that Prabhupada summarizes is actually explained in great details in the next 6 chapters. Okay, so I'll pause here and see if there is any discussion.
Prabhu, you mentioned about at the end of the instruction, little Krishna on a banyan leaf suck his leaf. I know we did that in the previous chapter. Can you elaborate more a bit on that?
So Markandeya Rishi, so when he was born, he was predicted to have a very short life. And Markanda, who was his father, he advised him that you worship Lord Shiva, and Lord Shiva will protect you. And then they left because they didn't want to see their son die. They left. And Markandeya, by himself, he built a Shivling, and he became a very, very devout follower of Lord Shiva. So when his time, destined time for death came, and because he was an exalted personality, Yamraj personally came to take the pull out the subtle body of Markandeya. And at that time, Lord Shiva, he appeared from the Shivling, and he actually was very angry with Yamraj. He kicked him. He said, "This is my devotee. How, don't even come near my devotees." Yamraj said, "Okay, you're Shiva. What can I do?" He ran away. And Lord Shiva, he gave Markandeya these benedictions that you will have a very long life. And I think he said that you will live for 7 manvantras. Either 6 or 7, I don't remember. But he said you will have a very long life over several manvantras. So Markandeya perfected his life by the process of performing yoga and austerities. And at one point, Nanda and Rishi were very pleased by his austerities. So they asked him to ask for a benediction. And Markandeya Rishi, because he himself was not under the influence of the Lord's illusory energy, but he could see that the whole universe was running under the Lord's illusory energy. So he was very curious. How does this work? That I have no experience of it. Tell me, how does the Lord's illusory energy work? And then she said, "Okay, so be it. You asked for it." And then under the influence of the illusory energy of the Lord, Markandeya Rishi, he repeatedly experiences this process of the creation of the universe, the destruction of the universe. So there he sees this vision that when the entire universe is inundated by the waters of destruction, and he's the only person there. Now this is all the illusory energy. So he's the only person, and he's swimming in the water for thousands and thousands of years. And he's desperate, he's cold, he's shivering, nobody to talk to. And then he sees an effulgent light coming from the middle of this water of devastation. And then with great effort, he swims over, and then he sees the Lord. He sees Krishna as a small baby, as a small boy, lying on this banyan leaf and sucking on his toe. And as he is watching, Krishna swallows him. So he goes inside the stomach of Krishna. And then inside the stomach of Krishna, he sees the entire universe. So now he's completely bewildered that the universe was destroyed outside, but it's there inside the stomach of Krishna. So inside the stomach of Krishna now, he's trying to find where are the edges of the universe, what it is, and then Krishna spits him out. Then he comes out of Krishna and he sees the universe outside Krishna. And this happens over and over again with slight variations. And then finally, he starts praying that please remove this illusory energy, that I cannot understand it. It is beyond my comprehension, but I know that I don't want to experience it. So then, by the mercy of Lord Shiva, that illusory energy is removed. There is a Markandeya Puran, which actually has the teachings of Markandeya Rishi, and also has a much more elaborate description of the pastimes with a lot of other details.
Thank you, Prabhu. Very nice. Because we don't get this type of detail. I've never heard this detail. Thank you.
It's there in the Mahabharata. In Markandeya Puran, it's in a lot more details. Thank you for asking. Any other thoughts, comments? Okay, if not, then we have some time, so we can start with the next chapter, the second chapter. So the first chapter, just in summation, is a description of the daughters of the lineage of the daughters of Swayambhuva Manu. So Akuti, Devahuti, and Prasuti. Akuti had a son and a daughter, Yagya and Dakshina. And Yagya was adopted by Swayambhuva Manu. Later, Yagya and Dakshina, they married. And from the marriage, they had the Tushtiyas, who basically were the demigods. And Yagya took the position of Indra and also that of the Manvantara avatar. Devahuti, as we know, married Kardama. And then by the marriage, she had 9 daughters and 1 son, Lord Kapila. And the lineage of the 9 daughters has been also given. And Prasuti is the youngest daughter. She marries Daksha, and she has 16 daughters. 13 daughters are married to Dharma, and by that 13 daughters are married to, not to Dharma, I'm sorry. The 13 daughters are married to yes, I was right. The 13 daughters are married to Dharma, and then the various presiding deities of the mode of goodness are born, and the youngest daughter Murti, from her the personality of Narayan came. The 14th daughter Swaha is married to Agni. The 15th daughter Swadha is married to the Pitras, and the 16th daughter Sati is married to Lord Shiva, and they did not have any children. Then the 9 daughters of Devahuti, they were married to the 9 sages, and then they begot further progeny. One particular daughter's pastime is described in more details, and that is the marriage of Anasuya and Atri, because by that marriage, Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, and Lord Vishnu appeared as, Brahma appeared as Soma, Lord Shiva appeared as Durvasa, and Lord Vishnu appeared as Dattatreya. Okay, so having summarized 4.1, let's start with 4.2. The title of the chapter is Daksha Curses Lord Shiva. The chapter is a shorter chapter. The previous chapter is 66 verses. This is about half, 35 verses. And mostly talks about the pastime. No, I'm not sure if it's a pastime, but the incident of the cursing of Lord Shiva by Daksha. So the chapter begins with the inquiries from Vidur. Why didn't Sati have a child? So Maitreya, he talks about the yagya and how Daksha curses Shiva, how Nandishwar gets angry and curses Daksha, and how Bhrigu gets angry and curses the followers of Lord Shiva. So everybody curses everybody else. In the chapter, we will see a total of 15 curses are occurred, and the root curse is by Daksha. He utters one curse. The other 14 are because of that. So he utters one curse and goes away. The other curses are because Nandishwar was upset. So he curses, and then Bhrigu gets upset. He curses. So a total of 15 curses affecting the future generations are uttered there. 4.2.1. Vidurvacha Bhaveshilvatam Shresthe Drashta Dukhitra Vatsalaha Vidvesham Akarot Kasmat Anadratyamajam Satim. Vidur inquired, why was Daksha, who was so affectionate towards his daughter, envious of Lord Shiva, who is the best among the gentle? Why did he neglect his daughter Sati? So 3 verses are the inquiry by Vidur. So Prabhupada says over here that in the 2nd chapter of the 4th canto, the cause of the dissension between Lord Shiva and Daksha, which was due to a great sacrifice arranged by Daksha for the pacification of the entire universe, is explained. Lord Shiva is described here as the best of the gentle because he is not envious of anyone. He is equal to all living entities. And all other good qualities are present in his personality. The word Shiva means all auspicious. No one can be an enemy of Lord Shiva, for he is so peaceful and renounced that he does not even construct a house for his residence, but lives underneath a tree, always detached from all worldly things. The personality of Lord Shiva symbolizes the best of gentleness. Then why was Daksha, who offered his beloved daughter to such a great personality, inimical towards Lord Shiva so intensely that Sati, the daughter of Daksha and the wife of Lord Shiva, gave up her body? That is the question of Vidur. Kam tam chara chara gurum nirvairam shanta vigraham Atmaramam katham dvesti jagato devatam mahat. Lord Shiva, the spiritual master of the entire world, is free from enmity, is a peaceful personality, and is always satisfied in himself. He is the greatest among the demigods. How is it possible that Daksha could be inimical towards such an auspicious personalities? So in these 2 verses, 1 and 2, Vidur glorifies Lord Shiva with 6 qualities. He says that he is Shilvatam Srishta. He is the best of gentlemen. Shrestha means the best. Shilvatam means those who are peaceful, gentlemen. Charachar Guru, that he is the spiritual master of the entire world. Charachar, that which moves and that which does not move. Then is Nirvairam, non-envious. He is Shanta Vigraham. He is always peaceful. He is Atmaram. He is self-satisfied. And Jagato Daivatam Mahat, that he is the greatest of the Devas. Srila Prabhupada, in his purports, he also glorifies Lord Shiva, and he describes 10 qualities. And there's obviously an overlap. So he says that Prabhupada says that Lord Shiva is, the personality of Lord Shiva symbolizes the best of gentleness. He is not envious of anyone. He is equal to all living entities. All other good qualities are present in his personality. He is all auspicious. He has no enemies. He is peaceful and renounced. He is Ashutosh, who is satisfied very quickly. He is Vaishnavanam Yathashambhu. He is the greatest of all Vaishnavas. He is the originator of the Rudra Sampradaya. He is Bhutnath, that he gives shelter to those who are dull-headed or ghosts. So putting these 2 things together, that Lord Shiva is the best of the best, and Prajapati Daksha is Duhitr Vatsala, that he is affectionate to his daughter. So then it does not line up. That he is affectionate to his daughter who is married to a great personality. Why should he be inimical? So Vidur is asking this question. verse 3. Etadakya hi me brahman jamato swasarusya cha videshastu yatah pranam tatyaje dushtyajan sati. My dear Maitreya, to part with one's life is very difficult. Would you kindly explain to me how such a son-in-law and father-in-law could quarrel so bitterly that the great goddess Sati would give up her life? So Vidur is amazed at the extremities of the circumstance. That he has said that Lord Shiva is a great personality. He's acknowledging that Daksha is a great personality. He's also acknowledging that Daksha is a devoted father. He's acknowledging the fact that it is very difficult to give up one's body. It is an extreme step to take. So how is it that this came about? The two great people connected by a personality that both of them love. Lord Shiva is very attached to his wife, and Prajapati Daksha is very attached to his daughter. How could the situation became so bad that Sati had to actually give up her body? Okay, verse 4. Maitrivacha Pura Vishvasrajam Satre Sammitaha Param Rishya Tatha Amraganaha Sarve Sanuga Munayognaha. The sage Maitreya said, in a former time, the leaders of the universal creation performed a great sacrifice in which all the great sages, philosophers, demigods, and fire gods assembled with their followers. So in 16 verses, from 4 to 19, Maitreya will describe the insulting of Lord Shiva and the cursing of Lord Shiva by Daksha. So Prabhupada says that upon being asked by Vidur, the sage Maitreya began to explain the cause of the misunderstanding between Lord Shiva and Daksha, because of which the goddess Sati gave up her body. Thus begins the history of a great sacrifice performed by the leaders of universal creation, namely Marichi, Daksha, and Vashishtha. These great personalities arranged for a great sacrifice, for which demigods like Indra and the fire gods assembled with their followers. Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva were also present. So clearly this was a very extensive sacrifice. Verse 5. Tatta praveshtham rasyo drishtuvarkam ivarochisha brajamanam vitimiram kurvantam tanmahal sadaha. When Daksha, the leader of the Prajapatis, entered that assembly, his personal bodily luster, as bright as the effulgence of the sun, the entire assembly was illuminated. And all the assembled personalities became insignificant in his presence. So this is alluding to the greatness of Prajapati Daksha. So he is glorified as the leader of the Prajapatis. So there are other Prajapatis like Marichi, Kashyap, but Daksha is glorified as the foremost. And a manifest sign of his greatness is the effulgence that was coming from his body. So it said the effulgence is the quality of tapa, that when people follow vows very strictly, the body becomes effulgent. when they follow celibacy, when they follow truthfulness, when they perform austerities. So these are all activities that increase the effulgence of the body. And we see that also empirically. Sometimes when we see sannyasis, we can, even if we don't know them, we can recognize them by the effulgence in their face. It's because of their strictly adhering to the vows of celibacy and various vows of austerity. So Daksha is here being glorified as a great personality. That his effulgence was so much that all the assembled personalities became insignificant. Now there is some poetic license over here, because Brahma and Shiva are also present, and it's not possible that they became insignificant in the presence of Daksha, but all means almost all. So the other Prajapatis, the Devas like Indra and Surya and Agni, who are famous for their effulgence, they became insignificant in his presence. Okay, I'll do one more verse and then we'll pause for any discussion. Udateshtan sadasyaste swadishnyaya bhaya sahaganya ritevarincham sarvam cha tadbhasa kshipata chetashaha. Influenced by his personal body luster, all the fire gods and other participants in the great assembly, with the exception of Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva, gave up their own sitting places and stood in respect for Daksha. So these are exalted personalities themselves who are able to see greatness in others. So Maitreya says that tatbhas, that his influence, akshipta, it influenced the chetasha, it influenced the mind. So they could understand. And with the exception of Brahma and Shiv, everybody stands up. Now Brahma does not stand up because he has the position of being the father of Daksha. And Daksha accepts that. So he actually goes and he will give obeisances to Brahma because he has a subordinate position to his father. But then he will get upset that Lord Shiva has not stood up, because in relationship, Lord Shiva is like his son because he's married to his daughter. So he's like, just like I'm giving obeisances to my father, my son should give obeisances to me. And then that's how he gets upset and then begins to first he criticizes Lord Shiva and then he curses him. So we'll stop here and see if there is any discussion. Okay, if there is no further discussion.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, just a quick question. That means the selection of Lord Shiva for Sati was made by Daksha himself.
It wasn't made by Daksha. He will complain about it later on. He said, I never wanted him. But Brahma forced me to marry my daughter to him. So in the previous chapter, Srila Prabhupada writes in the purport that Sati wanted. And actually both happened, because as per Vedic protocol, the girl has to agree. The parents can recommend. So Daksha was never interested, but Brahma wanted. So Brahma had said, marry. And Taksha said, "You are my father, so I'll follow your instruction. But let's see what Sati says." And Sati said, "Absolutely." So that's how the marriage was performed. Taksha was never happy with it. So we'll see that it's been always simmering, then it explodes now. And he will go all into the past and say, "I never wanted him to marry. This is the reason I didn't want him to marry. He's completely useless. He does not have a house. He's never filed any tax returns. I don't know, what does he do? He has no money." So he gets upset about all those things. So we'll see that in the subsequent verses.
Thank you. Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you. Okay, so we'll end here. Panchakalpatarubhayascha kripa sindhubhyev cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda ki jai. Shila Prabhupada ki jai. Nitai Gaur Premanande. Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much.
Hare Hare.